Hey guys, you know what? Welcome back to the channel. I've taken a few years off, not off of woodworking, or not off of anything in particular. It's just my life got crazy and kind of forgot about YouTube. As you can see, I'm not in the garage anymore. I am in a shop. Not a super clean shop at the moment, but it is my shop. And we've got some really exciting things. The company's come a long way since the last time I posted. We really only do some cool stuff now. So, that being said, let's jump into this next one. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make these legs out of the hickory for this table. I will show you in a minute exactly what we're making. In the meantime, just enjoy me milling some lumber. That's all I'm doing. I'm sitting there gonna listen to music, enjoy it, and have a good time. Now we've got those pieces roughed out, I'm going to go head over to the jointer. We're going to just face two sides real quick. I'm not going for facing everything. It's just the parts that are going to get glued together. We're going to glue 3 laminations for each leg. And then after that, square everything up, jump over to the CNC, and we're going to start turning and roughing out the legs. And then we'll have to make a top piece. It's a little bit too big for the 4th axis on the CNC. So we'll have to make that, mortise it out, put the legs together, and they'll be ready to go onto the table base, which is part of a massive walnut slab that we're going to get resawed. We're going to get it surfaced, flattened, then put it all together. If there's any cracks we need to repair, we'll fill them with epoxy and go from that point forward. Well, now that we've got our rough milling done and we got our face joints ready for some glue, we're gonna do some glue ups. Maybe we'll get onto something else, but we'll see what happens today. After this, I do have to run out for a little while, so maybe I'll take you along the drive in the vehicle and talk about what we're doing and what's some plans for the channel. We'll see what happens. That's the plan. If it happens, it happens. If not, well, then I'm just saying a bunch of stuff on video for no reason. Okay guys, so we made our way out to Pipestone Timber Company. I'll put a link in the description for these guys. This is literally like a candy store when it comes to wood slabs. So if you're in Alberta or Canada, anywhere, go check out their website. It's in the description. It's pretty cool. Haley's cool. We're gonna resaw this big slab for this project we're doing right now. So we're gonna book match it. We're gonna book match it and make this table. I'm gonna have some videos for you here of the legs being run on the CNC and turned and how we joined them, made them, and all the joinery. But this is where we're at so far. I'm gonna spin the camera around and check it out. Okay, that first resaw went super good. I was honestly very surprised how it didn't even warp much that I would consider a warp considering a resaw. I've seen short boards from the store just go right bananas, but this stayed perfectly flat. So hopefully the second one goes well. We're going to try a little bit more aggressive with less margin for error on this next one to see if we can get a really good match for this table. Okay guys, we're working on flattening these slabs after we resawed them. It's going along very well. Everything came out real nice and flat, so this table's going to go to the exact proportions that we wanted. Anyways, check out these slabs. There's some black walnut. I'm gonna spin this video around. Got some black walnut. There's some willow back here. Pretty awesome resource for me, only 30 minutes from my shop. It's just slabs on top of slabs at this place. It's got some little CNCs. Got some other projects going. Look at this goodie room over here. Isn't this just the coolest room? Just everything in here. I could spend a lot of time in this place, and I do. But yeah, if you're looking for any lumber, this is a place to order from. Central Alberta. I think he ships Canada wide. Have to ask him. Let's go back and check on the CNC and see what's happening over there. Now that we've got that section of all the CNCing done, we should just be able to pop this little frame off. So I only left a very small amount of material. It helps if I move my CNC out of the way. Now you can do this with regular tools, but I have the CNC, so I might as well make it easier on myself so I can do other stuff while I work on this. So next stage, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a dado here on each side using my face mill. Just going to come right inside, cut my dados. And you'll see on the next section of the video why I had to do it this way opposed to doing everything in one piece. That's just limitation of the size of my CNC. If somebody has a better idea, let me know what you think in the comments. Normally I have my dust collection set up, but I'd like you guys to be able to see everything happening here. Now I do have a minimum clearance that I have to make, otherwise I'll hit the nut on the edge of the piece, and I do not want that, so I'm going for about 49 millimeters.
Now we know that we have an exactly perfectly square piece. There's no funny business with trying to mold it after the fact and cut dados in those corners. We know they're exactly the same size, exactly the right size. Place. Okay, so we've got everything, at least on the CNC, for the big legs done. I'm gonna show you how they go together because the top of the leg and the bottom of the leg is just a little bit too big for me to do on the 4th axis of my CNC. So anyways, here's how they go together and we'll continue on the project. Okay, so we've got the top cap and we've got the leg. First I saw this little guy that I used just to hold on with the CNC. And then this profile will sit in this guy, oh so nicely. Simple as that. Now these do go in a certain way. One of my favorite tricks I've picked up over the last few years is this. You don't, if you use really fine, I found if you use really fine shavings or really fine sawdust, you kind of get a weird color gap, color spacing if you try and fill any gaps or something with it. But if you take bigger chunks, you grind those into those gaps you're trying to fill. Really work them in. What happens is you get a bunch of the texture from the end grains and the side grains and the color profiles. And once you go and sand this joint, it all disappears because it looks, it blends. It's not so much just a solid line of you know, going. This one won't disappear amazingly because it was a little bit lighter, but it is what it is. So I got some 80 grit. That's some 80 grit and some 120 grit. I'm just gonna sand those joints quick. Okay, there's the legs. Besides final sanding and cleanup, they're basically ready to go. We're going to jump on to finishing the layout for the tabletop. Trying to see how we can avoid most of these cracks. Because if we don't have to have cracks in it that need to be filled, let's not have cracks if we can. But that's wood. Sometimes there's cracks that you have to deal with. Sometimes there's not. Just a messed up world. Cracks everywhere. Great, we got that worked, we got that marked out. Now we might be a little short on the width after we get all the jointing done and glued up. We're gonna be pretty close, but we'll be close enough that some of the cutoffs that we do I can plane down, glue them back on, and you won't see that seam. You won't see anything there, but we'll get our final width, which is the most important part of this project. Because everything on this project is exactly mathematically proportional. That's why I did the legs on the CNC. I actually got the CNC to do almost all the way to final sanding with step overs on the ball nose bit, so there's no tool marks. You'll be able to just lightly sand it with 220 grit or 320 grit and put our finish on them. Because we have actually very specific things. I'll go over it once we have the table all together and break it all down. We'll see, we'll throw some calipers on to see how close we actually got. Let's cut these slabs out. Okay, well that could have went better, but you know, wood does that. Sometimes it wants to squeeze in and grab the riving knife, and the only thing you can do is keep going back and forth and cutting it, or trying to do multiple cuts at the same depth. I was trying to keep everything on a nice straight as line as I could so I could joint them nicer. But we made it through. Got a few burn marks. Probably need to sharpen the saw blade now. It got pretty hot. Other than that, not too bad. We're gonna joint them now and get this glued up. Actually, we're gonna joint it and we're gonna thickness it almost to the right thickness. We'll glue up, and then we'll start gluing everything up. So, change of plans. For some reason, when I was thinking about going and jointing it, I just came to the realization I have got an 8-inch jointer. These boards are bigger than 8 inches. So we're gonna do it the plainer way, where we're gonna take a piece of scrap melamine or MDF or something like that. We're gonna shim the piece, we're gonna glue it on, make it nice and level, run it through the planer, get it one flat side, pop it off, flip it over, and run our final passes. That was super close. The client wants us to end up at 55 millimeters, or 55.7 millimeters thick. And that has to go with the math stuff that I'll show you at the end of the video. But anyways, this board got a slight warp in it after we cut it, as you see was by struggling on the table saw. So we're gonna lose a little bit. I'm gonna see what I can do to mitigate that by tipping it corner to corner. But the rest of the board is pretty flat compared to that one little spot. So we'll see what we can make out and make sure that we end up at that final thickness. On fit. So thankfully, it was just that one that was warped. The rest of them, it was the cutoffs that warped. So that's good. We're gonna finish building these up and move on to the next step of gluing them together. Okay. I've now cut one of the joints all by hand. You can see that that joint is not impossible to do. You just need a router with a flush trim bit and a rabbet bit, and to pull a few measurements from the joinery that we cut on the legs. I can do a video later if you want, showing you how to cut that Maloof style joint. It's pretty easy. It's just a matter of making sure things are perfectly square, get all your measurements dialed in, and you can pull it off with dado blade and a couple router bits. But that's for another video. What I've done now is I've made on the CNC, I quickly just made a jig. So instead of me pulling all the measurements and measuring it out, marking it, tacking straight edges down, I just have a nice little thing I just put on the corner. It's all the right size, right place, and just go straight to cutting it out and routering it. But yeah, that's achievable joint even with very minimal tools. Like a cheap little router you get at a garage sale and 2 bits, you're good to go. Let's get started, finish up cutting these joints, and I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you made it this far. If you did, please like and subscribe. We're gonna do some awesome projects coming up in the future here. So stay tuned. Looking forward to seeing you the next time.